What if the modern nation-state was not born from borders, armies, or constitutions, but from stories? When we look at today's political map, nations appear solid and permanent. Flags fly over capitals. Anthems echo in stadiums. School textbooks narrate heroic pasts. Yet historians and sociologists argue that the nation-state is not merely a political structure, it is a cultural construction sustained by shared myths.
Welcome to SciCuriousID, where curiosity meets science.
One of the most influential scholars to propose this idea was Benedict. In his 1983 work Imagined Communities, Anderson argued that a nation is an imagined political community. Not imagined because it is false, but imagined because members will never know most of their fellow citizens, yet still perceive a deep, horizontal bond with them. So how is this bond created? The answer lies in narrative. Before the modern era, political loyalty was typically directed toward dynasties, empires, or religious authorities. People identified with a king, a city, or a faith, not an abstract nation. The transformation began gradually in early modern Europe, accelerated by print capitalism. The invention of the printing press allowed newspapers, pamphlets, and books to circulate in vernacular languages. As people read the same news and stories, they began to imagine themselves as part of a shared community. This was not accidental. It was structural. According to Ernest Gellner, nationalism is a product of industrial modernity. Industrial societies required cultural standardization, shared language, education systems, and administrative cohesion. The nation became a framework to organize that uniformity. But to sustain it, the state required legitimacy. And legitimacy often draws upon myth. Consider the idea of ancient traditions. Many national symbols feel timeless. Yet historian Eric Hobsbawm argued in the Invention of Tradition that numerous national rituals, flags, and ceremonies were consciously designed in the 19th century. They were not ancient inheritances, they were political tools crafted to create continuity with a constructed past. Take, for example, national epics. In several European contexts, medieval poems were revived, edited, or elevated to canonical status to serve modern nationalist purposes. These texts became proof of historical depth and cultural uniqueness. The mythic past was mobilized to legitimize the modern state. The French Revolution provides another instructive case. Revolutionary leaders did not simply dismantle monarchy, they replaced it with a new narrative. The nation became sovereign. Symbols such as the tricolor flag and personifications like Marianne embodied a myth of collective citizenship. The people were no longer subjects of a king, they were participants in a shared historical destiny. Similarly, in 19th century Germany and Italy, fragmented territories were unified under nationalist movements that invoked shared language, folklore, and heroic ancestry. Intellectuals collected folk tales, codified national histories, and emphasized cultural unity long before political unification was achieved. In this sense, nationalism often precedes the nation itself. Anthony D. Smith further refined this perspective by arguing that modern nations draw upon ethno-symbolism, pre-existing myths, memories, and symbols that are reinterpreted to fit modern political structures. The myth does not need to be historically precise. It needs to be emotionally resonant and symbolically cohesive. Why are myths so powerful in state formation? Because myth simplifies complexity. It compresses centuries into a single origin story. It transforms diverse populations into a unified people. It creates heroes, martyrs, golden ages, and collective traumas. These narratives offer psychological anchoring in a rapidly changing world. Importantly, this process is not inherently deceptive. Myths can be selective without being entirely fabricated. They are structured interpretations of history designed to create continuity and shared identity. However, they also exclude alternative narratives. The same myth that unites can marginalize. The modern nation-state, therefore, rests on two pillars: administrative power and narrative cohesion. Borders may be drawn by treaties, but loyalty is drawn by story. Even today, national holidays, Memorials and textbooks continue to reinforce foundational myths. Independence Days commemorate moments of liberation. War memorials narrate sacrifice. Constitutional preambles invoke destiny and shared purpose. The question is not whether myths exist in politics. The question is how they function. Understanding this dynamic allows us to analyze nationalism not as a spontaneous emotion, but as a historically structured phenomenon emerging from print culture, industrialization, and symbolic construction. Modern states did not simply inherit myths, they curated them. And in doing so, they transformed stories into sovereignty. If nations are imagined communities sustained by narrative, what does that imply about their future in a globalized world? Are we witnessing the evolution of new myths or the fragmentation of old ones? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.
Thanks for watching SciCuriousID. Until next time.